right, welcome to the Prospect Podcast. Coach Schumann here, as always, with our special guest today, Dustin Adkins, and we're going to talk more football with him. As always, I have Coach D today to my left. Coach Adkins is up above. So the theory that coming in last, Derek, is obviously
Debunked. Debunked.
does not debunked now. It's 100% debunked. So because I was clearly last.
Does not hold the water.
It does not. So we still don't know what gets the person on top on this yet. That's the great
random
mystery.
algorithm of the day.
It is the random algorithm.
That's it.
Every day we've been trying to figure it out. It's like our strange, why is one person up on top each time versus the different? I thought maybe because the last two times I was on top and I was the last one in, that I thought that's what it was, but obviously today it is not the case, so that is incorrect. So we got to figure that out.
Back to the drawing board for that one.
That's the drama there. So welcome to the podcast, Dustin. We're excited to talk some football with you today. A little background, Coach. Coach has been a high school football coach for 14 years now, played football at Dartmouth, is at OLA High School in Georgia, made the move from Florida to Georgia. And before that, when he was in Florida, he was at Hawthorne High School. That's where he also played at. And so we're excited to talk to him. I think it was when he was in Florida, at two state champion, or was at the state championship twice as defense coordinator, and really did a great job there. And is now taking his talents over to Georgia, and is really in one of the biggest high schools in the state, as he told us in the precast. And in the area that football is rapidly booming in Georgia, that state is really, really. It's always been a great football state, but with the population boom and just more and more people moving there. For a variety of reasons, there's just explosion of schools and explosion of how they're developing things, and it's explosion, obviously, of talent. So, Coach, welcome to the podcast.
No, I appreciate it. Thank y'all for having me. Look forward to it.
Yeah, it's gonna be good stuff. Talk a little bit about your background. I dived in a little bit into it, but kind of take us on a journey of as a player, as a coach, and bringing you up to where you are today.
Yeah, so originally I was born in California, but my parents are originally from Florida, so we moved back to Florida. I remember when I started playing, I've always been a larger guy. I'm like 6'7", 290 pounds, so I'm pretty big. So and it's funny, my mom's 5'5", my dad's 5'7". So unless there's a milkman, I gotta thank somebody for that.
Wow. You talk about debunking. Talk about the word debunking, like a theory. Wow. Okay.
We got to. I got one brother. He's 5'11", so
that's
somehow
wild.
I appreciate it. I do appreciate it. But now where I'm from in Florida, so it's a one light town. You play sports year round, and I remember probably going into my 9th grade. My parents had a real conversation with me that we're not financially able to provide for college. So unless you want to do loans, you better earn it your own way. Like I said, I played football, basketball, baseball growing up, but obviously by 9th, 10th grade, I knew my meal ticket was football. I mean, they don't make me to this size to play basketball for the most part. So I kind of heavily dove into academics, athletics. I earned a football scholarship to Dartmouth, which was great, and a lot of great teammates. Great, just being able to rub shoulders with some of the people you rub at Ivy League institution was something that definitely blessed me and helped me in my career. Graduated from Dartmouth, had a great 4 years. Actually played for the late Buddy Tevens, great guy, great coach, great character. Can't say enough good things about him. But when I graduated, I thought my football career was done. I went started working for Edward Jones as a financial advisor. Did that for about 7-8 months, and it's just every day. The suit and tie doesn't bother me. I don't mind. But it's just sitting in front of a screen, the monotonous work. It just wasn't a passion. I was 21, 22 at the time, just looking what do I love? And football always came to the forefront. So I was like, well, how can I get back into football? And then high school football happened. I started in Orlando, and I was 22 years old. I was like, well, let me just give this a try. I started as a high school football coordinator in Orlando at Oak Ridge High School. And it's funny now, one of the coaches I worked with when I first started, I actually was the only coach from Florida I brought with me to Georgia when I took the job. So I've known him for about 17 years now. But coaching football kind of reignited the passion that I have for the game. It made coming to work fun. I don't know, just something about football. It's hard to describe, but it fulfills me, I guess you could say. So I did that for 4 years in Orlando, 5 years in Orlando. Then I went to Tampa for 2 more years. So after that, I went back to my alma mater, Hawthorne, as the athletic director, defensive coordinator. The head coach at the time was my high school teammate, who was the University of Florida legend, Cornelius Ingram. He played tight end for them. He played basketball well. Played with Tebow. He was on the basketball team when they had Corey Brewer and them. They won the 2 national championships, and was also on the football team with Derek Harvey, Percy Harvin, and all of them. So, he's one of my good friends. But he was actually my high school teammate too. So he took the head job at our alma mater. I went back there for him, was the athletic director. And we had a good 7-year run. Football-wise, my last 4 years, we made the state championship, won the last 2. And in addition to just football, we won an additional 3 championships in basketball, boys and girls. So we won 5 total state championships in a 7-year run. And it's actually funny because at the end of our last one, the last 2 years we finished undefeated, 25-0. I love coaching, but I was ready for the next chapter. So I had a lot of interviews with athletic director jobs across the country for private. Like I said, I was athletic director for 7 years, private institutions, and the OLA job came up. And I briefly dabbled in Georgia, looked into it before when I was younger, but I was never really pursued it. I knew a buddy of mine that came from Florida that worked in Georgia, and he kind of gave him good praise for OLA. I looked up their roster, they've been open since 2006. They never won a playoff game at the time. They've been to the playoffs, and they had a good mixture of young talent and a little bit of senior leadership coming back. So I was like, let me just shoot my shot. I told my wife, if I don't get this is my sign to go be an AD somewhere else. But God works in mysterious ways. I had my interview and came back, had another interview. At first I got told no. I got called that Sunday. So about 2 weeks of interviewing, and then it's real funny. Like when I was about to get the job on Sunday, my last interview, I'm going up to meet with our principal and athletic director, and I get 10 calls from some former coaches I coached with. Hey, they're calling, they're asking about you, about to offer you the job, blah, blah, blah. So I'm feeling real good. So then Sunday night comes, I get a phone call, but thanks, but no thanks. So I didn't know how to take that. So I just kind of hung up the phone. I was like, all right, well, appreciate it. I hung up the phone. And probably the next day, not even 24 hours, probably 10 a.m., I got a call back. And I guess, they had a change of heart and asked if I'm willing to be the next head coach. And I was like, hell yeah. So kind of uprooted the family, been here for the last 3 years, going into year 3. But I love it. I love Georgia. I kind of regret not trying to pursue this years ago, but I also feel like, I needed some of the seasoning before I was ready to take this role. But it's been fun. Year 3 coming up, so far in 2 years, we're 20-3. We won the first 2 region championships in our school history, first playoff win in school history. But now it's year 3. And one of the reasons I took this job, I thought our 27 class would be pretty strong. So I think this is our year we take the next step.
Very, very cool. What was it like, going from, somewhere you're used to, you grew up in that area, and then coming to a new place, taking over a program, like OLA? What was it? What was it for you? What were some of the things challenges you had to feel like you had to overcome doing that?
Well, I think with being at my alma mater and being with our staff that we were together for 7 years, the continuity and then just the overall makeup of our staff, I think going on your own is, there's always going to be outside doubters. Can you win on your own? Were you just successful because the staff you were on, you have what it takes to succeed? And even though I was the athletic director, which basically the head coach of all sports, it's still, can you be the head coach of football? So, but I think some of the things, as far as being a head coach, you obviously got to deal with parents, got to deal with the media. That wasn't something that was new to me. Being an athletic director, I dealt with parents and media all the time.
Yeah, so you deal with that stuff more so than coaches deal with.
Yeah, 100%. So that wasn't an issue. I just think the biggest thing was having the right system in place. When I toured the facility, I saw some of the coaches on campus that I kept on my staff. Knowing I'd be able to bring one of my good close friends that I've been working with for 17 years to Florida, in Florida to Georgia was another big thing. And honestly, I met the community. I talked to some parents, talked to some players, and I felt the hunger was here. We just had to take the next step and really just accountability, structuring our program the right way, making sure we instill our values. Like I'm kind of old school. I'm a tough coach. I'm not really the best in the praise of people. I'll tell them good job, I guess. But I'm more so if we're watching film, like I don't care if we had an 80-yard touchdown, we call zone right and my left guard step left. Like we're gonna harp on that. And it's just, getting the familiarity. Like again, I'm not the easiest to please. Like I wanted to be perfect, and I know we'll never be perfect. So it's just constantly striving for, I guess, a mark that we'll never be able to achieve. That's always been something I've done as a player and a coach, and just having our kids meet our expectations, which they've done a tremendous job, kind of has allowed us to be a little bit successful, and we're getting there.
There's no doubt. I mean, obviously you had a great run so far. A lot of success pretty early on. Was there a lot of things that you had to change when you came in there? What were some of the things that you had to do from that standpoint?
We kind of just revamped what we did on the defense. Like I've
Okay.
always been a defensive guy. Honestly, I would never talk about other people's systems or what they have in place, but I just feel with what we had for player wise, like we could match it better to our scheme. And I think part of being a good coach, like it's easy in college to, like, I'm not gonna say it's easy in college. I don't mean that at all, but it's easier in college to coach because you're always bringing in kids to fit your scheme. I feel like in high school,
No doubt.
in high school, some of the best coaches, you have to adapt your scheme to your players. Like in year one, I had 3 or 4 DBs that were great in man coverage. So year one, we're probably 95% man, straight man coverage, one high safety. That it is what it is. If you could beat it, you could beat it. But now this past year, I graduated some of my corners and we're more of a zone heavy team. So
right.
Me personally being from Florida, if I could play man every play, I probably will.
Yeah, that's that Florida mentality. That cat on cat coverage, man. Like that's just what it is. It's just
hey, you're on an island. Like I tell them all the time, if you want to go to college at corner, put on film that you could play man and you could tackle, and they'll recruit you all day.
Yep, no doubt.
And so so just being able to and having a staff that buys in and understand we tweak stuff every week. Again, sometimes it's easy when you're at a school, you have 30, 40 D1s, like your toss right looks different than another school's toss right. Like sometimes your Jimmys and Joes are just better. So I think when you're at programs that are not perennial powers, if you can adapt your strategy to fit your players and make that mesh happen, you do a pretty good job. So that's what we try to do on a yearly, not only on a yearly basis, like going into the season, but on a weekly basis. How can we put our structure and our game plan into what our athletes do best? And I think that's helped us.
Yeah, I think it's something, Coach, too, that a lot of guys, we talked to a bunch of guys on here, and, the ones that are more successful are the ones that have sustained winning, right? Like those are the guys that are not, they have a system, but they're not hell bent on, we have to do it this, we have to do this, right? They adapt to kind of what they have, especially when you're talking high school football, in a public school setting where you get what you get, and you have to constantly evaluate and kind of, look at certain things, and that might not be your wheelhouse or your familiarity with what kind of works best for that group of kids. And like you said, like every year the roster changes, irregardless of the same. It might be the same kids that, hey, these juniors are becoming seniors, but teams change, kids develop, right? Especially at the high school level, you might have that sophomore that never saw the field that now all of a sudden, hits a growth spurt or works really hard, gets a lot better, and now all of a sudden he's a two-way player for you, and you had to 100%. Find a way to kind of go do that. And we've seen that those are the best kind of coaches that have the most success. How hard is it? One of the things that I always talk about when guys go into a new program or they take over something new is getting those other assistants and how they formulate that staff, right? So holdovers or guys you bring with you, right? Now, to me, like you always want to bring that one soldier with you that's like your guy, right? Like he's going to pound the pavement. He's going to sign off on everything you say, right? Because when you have holdovers, a lot of those guys, especially if it's, if it didn't go down well, right, like the transition with others, they don't play nice, right? And they kind of have that pulse of the team, and those kids kind of either go one way or the other. You're always going to have guys that are all in or guys that are kind of on the fence, and you got to kind of manage that. So how do you, kind of when you go into a new place, like you have some of those holdovers, how do you get those guys to buy in?
No, you're 100% right, man, because I've been on staffs where, like, they haven't gotten along, and that I'm big on that. Like, if we bicker and fight as a staff, like we're always going to have disagreements. That's the competitive moments. It is. But like I tell my staff, we're going to do that in the office away from the kids, because if the kids see any type of
100%.
animosity, they're going to play both sides, play the fence. So honestly, when I came in, I met one-on-one with every coach that was on campus or was a community coach that was in the program, and we just sat and talked. And I let them know my expectations, what I plan on doing, where I plan to put my hands on for year one in the program. And then kind of just had listen to them where their mindset was. And, I tried, other than the one my guy brought from Florida, I try to retain everybody on staff that was here. Because just like you said, one of the main things is some of these guys are great in the community. And you know how it goes nowadays, word of mouth matters. Like, if someone bad mouths you, they're going to try to pull your kids to the next school. So, having that guy in the community to kind of bridge the gap was something that I value. But me with most of the coaches, they were open to me. They were willing. I think they just wanted to coach, honestly. Like, not saying that former staff didn't let them coach, but sometimes
that's amazing.
But sometimes like, just because you're a linebacker coach, you still have a say. Like, you don't have to be the defensive coordinator or the head coach. Like, I'm big on like coach. Like, I've been on places where I've been micromanaged. I've also been on places where they gave me free reins.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my thing. Like, we meet as a staff on Sundays, and I just let them know, like, hey, this is the game plan, these are the expectations. But I also let them know, hey, you have a schedule on the Indy time. I shouldn't have to be over your shoulder watching your Indy time. We're all well-versed coaches. Let's do that. And I think just giving them the freedom to coach, like I tell them all the time, as long as you watch film, as long as you put in the time, and I see it, there's no input that's not valuable. Like, and I tell them all the time, some of the best ideas could come from, quote unquote, on the totem pole, the lowest assistants. Like put there's no cheating the process.
Because they see it different. You know what I mean? Like they see it different. Sometimes those relationships with the players are on a different level. Because look, you're the head coach. 6-7 things to you because you're the head coach. You know what I mean? So to develop those relationships as a position coach, you have more of that one-on-one, or more, you're just on a kind of a different level. I'm not saying that as the head coach you don't have those relationships with others, but with those guys, but there's just something about your room or your position group, or just whatever level you're coaching, that now you can bring things back to the head coach, that because he's got so many other things going on, like now those guys can give you that input of, hey, so-and-so works really hard, or at this, or so-and-so has, whatever it is, whether it be on the field, off the field, like those assistants are pivotal when you're talking about managing that roster on that next level that it takes to kind of win on a consistent basis, and build 100%. A program that it's not, it entails so much more. And those are the first guys, right? If they're the naysayer or they're questioning it, right? Like, kids see through all of that bullshit. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So they'll know if a coach isn't on board, or if a coach is questioning what you're doing, or if he's not working, if he's not watching film or doing any of that. The kids are the first ones to see it, and they'll tell you, and they'll write a guy off and not respect him right away. And then now you've lost a whole position group, just because guys are that way. And it's kind of, it's tough. And in today's day and age, man, when guys want to, they just want to like younger guys, just want to they want to rise to the top right away, right? Yeah. Like, they just want to call plays, or they want to be a coordinator, or they're looking for the next jump. Like, man, you got to earn your stripes a little bit. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, sit in the back, 100%. Take notes, just be quiet, kind of learn. And then, then when you can, when you've shown your worth, then you can kind of chirp a little bit and talk to, and let guys know kind of what's going on. But they're a key part to it.
100%. Like I'll say year one, like, I had a position group, they kind of got turned off by their position coach. And, it's just, and, he's not on our staff anymore. But like you say, like, if you can't relate to your players and your group, how can you run a bigger part of the team in general?
Right.
And also, I look at it, like you said, assistant coach is kind of like a school and a principal. Like, as a head coach, I always feel like I was a player coach, but like you said, it's different being a head coach. See, they treat you like a principal. And, and so when they could call to my office, we could have a great conversation. I could tell them they're getting an offer. They're always going to come in here a little reserved, a little nervous. Just
Hell
because,
yeah.
Did I do something wrong? Yeah. So I guess from being an assistant for all those years, especially being a coordinator, like, I understand the willingness of kids to open up more to their position coaches, to a head coach. And again, if you have a staff of people you can't trust, then some major things might be getting told to them, and it's not getting brought to your attention. So
No
I
doubt.
say, like,
And we talk about vertical alignment all the time. You know
yeah,
what I mean? Like, it's got to be like what's coming out of your mouth has got to be the same thing that's coming out of the coordinator's mouth, that's coming out of the position coach's mouth. Everybody's got to be looking towards the same goals with the same morals, values, all that culture stuff that gets thrown around. You know what I mean? Like, it's got to be preached from the highest to the high to the, quote unquote, lowest to the low. And whether that's, your student managers that are whatever, and like, they got to be bought into,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, cause it just takes that one naysayer, right, or somebody questioning it to now all of a sudden, like, here's what it is. And now, you're down a negative road. And you see a lot of that. Unfortunately, it kind of works from the inside out, like, but I've always said, like, an assistant coach is, the way his players play are an exact, like, a direct correlation is to what you are. So
yeah,
the way you coach is how they're going to play. Right. So, like, you want your position group performing at a certain level or doing things a certain way. Well, then that's on you.
yeah,
And I don't want to hear about, like, oh, I only have 15 minutes of individual with them or whatever that is. Like, that's nonsense. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Like,
right.
be invested in their lives, like, know who they are. Right. Like, coaching 101 is at least know everybody's name.
Yeah.
How many times do you see a guy that's like, he doesn't even know his kids' names, right, or
No facts.
whatever? And it's like, man, like, that's some of the. Go
But
ahead.
that's why I tell younger coaches all the time. I said before, like, even when I got here, before I even coached, before I even said anything to them, I just sat back and tried to learn them. Like, if you want kids to play hard for you, if you want kids to run through the wall for you, you better build that relationship, and they better know it's genuine. Like,
Yep.
relationships matter. Like, and I know people say that all the time, build relationships, but a lot of them don't take time to do it. But when kids genuinely know that you care and you have their best interests at heart, you could coach them a lot harder than you can if they don't know you're all in. And like I said, like, I get on my kids from my star players to fifth string JV. They
Yep.
all get, and then you hold everybody to the same standards and the same accountability. There's no grumblings. There's no dissension. These are the standards. This is how we're going to run the program. Let's get it done. And it doesn't matter if you score all the touchdowns or if you don't score any touchdowns. Standards are the standards, and that's what we've been fortunate enough to set in the last few years.
Um, as far as like a program is and how your program is structured year round, like, take me through a little bit of that. Like, do you guys have uh, like some of the places in Georgia now, like, you're able to have like football class or whatever. Like, are you talk to me about like kind of that structures as far as how you're able to go through the development process with them?
So first period we have my football period. So every day I have my main varsity guys that's in with me first period. Now our school starts roughly at like 8:15. So what we do is we bring them in at like 6:45 in the morning. So like right now in the off season, we come at 6:45 and we live from about 6:45 to about 8:15, 8:20. So they have enough time to go eat and get ready for second period and so forth, so forth. It allows them, because we have a lot of kids that play multiple sports. So it allows them to come in, get their lifts in, and work out without taking away from the other sports. I mean, it's a little bit of a sacrifice on them. It's the same thing as me and all the coaches. We could easily just stay after school and do it. But I'm like, if the kids are willing to sacrifice an hour and a half to 2 hours to work out and lift weights, we're going to do it as a staff as well. So we do that in the off season to allow them to play multiple sports, because I'm big on playing multiple sports. Again, I did it growing up, and I'm not really into this. Like, you're gonna be specific on one sport, like that. That just wasn't us growing up. So that's how we do it in the off season as far as workouts and everything. And then twice a week we'll go out a position group and we'll do our stuff. But in season it's kind of the same setup. We still show up at 6:45 in the mornings. Now off season we live 4 times a week. In season we probably only live twice, just maintenance workouts. But we use that same time that we have built in the morning. We'll watch film. We'll put in our walkthroughs. If we need to do something on the field with no helmets or anything, like, that's what we use the mornings for. So then when we come in the afternoon, we practice about 3:30 to about 5:45, 6 o'clock. So now we're hitting the ground running. There's no install period. There's no explaining. We do all that in the morning. So we kind of almost like 2 a days without being 2 a days. We allow ourselves about an hour and a half, 2 hours in the morning. In season is more watching film, preparing, installation. Off season is more lifting weights, doing the therapy and stuff like that.
Interesting. And as far like you have your own strength and conditioning coach that's separate.
I got my strength and conditioning coach, actually my D-line coach. He played at Georgia State, and he's been doing it for a while. He just does it for football, but he's ran other programs as well, but he does it just for us. Yes, sir.
That's cool. And then as far as like what you have your kids do, like do your kids play like 7-on-7 in the off season? Do they do those kind of things? Or are they focused more with?
They do 7-on-7, some do like individual skill work. Like I'm not too big on like trying to like tell them what they can and can't do. As long as you're being active, I'm cool with that. So yeah, like obviously the 7-on-7 is the new craze the last few years. So everybody wants to be on 7-on-7 teams, be on ESPN, jumping in foam pits and whatnot. So I have some that do that, and then I have others that just do specific training with trainers and stuff. So it's just a combination of both.
Yep. Does that make it so it's interesting. So you kind of hands-off approach, like as long as you're doing the work that we got to do with our team, you're not worried about what they do. You're cool with it for the most part. You try to guide them in that direction. I'm just curious because everybody's different.
It was a little different. Like in Florida, I could run my own 7-on-7 and won't be an issue. But like in Georgia, as a coach, I can't run a 7-on-7 because if I run a 7-on-7, so it's I got to be a little bit more hands off. And also in the
it's considered like almost like recruiting, right?
Yeah, so like it's an undue influence. So if I do a 7-on-7 and any kid comes to my school that was on it, they're gonna say that's undue influence. So it's that, and then they're also in the offseason, there's a 4-on-1 rule. So anything with more than 4 players, you can't have a football. But if there's 4 players and 1 coach, you can have a ball. So they kind of hamper you a little bit.
Yeah, that's interesting. So, I mean, look, it's different. Jersey, it's hey, once the season ends, like you can't have a ball or deal with them in any way, shape, or form when it comes to that until the end of track season. So probably second or third week in June, it's literally hands off. There's no spring ball here. There's none of that. Like you don't have any of it. So weight room is only really kind of your thing that you could do with guys. So the rules, and we talked about it from state to state, are totally different. Whereas in Florida, you could literally have your entire team as a 7-on-7 club and go.
And I think the biggest thing for the offseason, again, we're talking about teenagers. I don't want to burn them out. Like if they're with me 3, 4, 5 times a week, by the time it gets to the summer, to gets to the fall, my voice is going to be like something they don't want to hear anymore. So like I said, like other than lifting 4 to 5 times a week, which that's mandatory, like we'll get out position group wise 2 days a week and do some bag footwork drills, just little stuff like position specific drills. But for the most part, I try to give them that time because I know we'll start up spring in May and we'll go from May to the summer to the fall, and they're going to be hearing a lot of me. So I try to give them a little bit of lesser of my voice over these last few months.
Great point. How about multiple sports? Do you have kids play multiple sports? Is that something you're an advocate for? I'm curious what your thoughts are from that standpoint.
Look, I love for kids to play multiple sports. But I'll be perfectly honest. Sometimes coaches of other sports don't understand the value of lifting weights. And
coach, you're preaching to the choir, man. You are preaching like it is just unbelievable.
Man, I hear basketball kids talking about jump shots being effective. I hear baseball kids saying their shoulders and stuff. And it's like I try to tell the coaches, I said, I don't care if they go to college for football, basketball, baseball, soccer, water polo, whatever sport you play in college, you lift year round. Like, I don't care what it is. It could be an individual sport or it could be a team sport. Lifting year round is the precedent of every college program. So I said, if they play basketball, baseball, you should be thanking me because I'm working them out in the morning.
Yeah.
Still going to your practice without missing any day. And I'm also not an anal coach. Like if our baseball team's in the playoffs, I probably won't have them touch weights that week. It's playoff time. If I have a basketball team in the playoffs, same thing. If it's a big game, like, all right, you're not gonna do a heavy cleans, heavy squats, and go play a region championship basketball game today. Like, we're gonna work together. The problem is the together part we struggle with sometimes because there's so many coaches telling them don't lift, you shouldn't lift this, you don't do this. I shit you not, I had a JV kid tell me his baseball coach told him not to lift. I said, you're JV baseball though, like. You're JV, bro. Like, who can? Make it make sense. So, I don't mind multiple sports, but it irritates me sometimes where we make concessions. Because again, I could be that football coach. I could be that football coach to say we're not going in the morning. I'll see you after school from 3:30 to 5. Oh, and if you have another sport, you better decide which one you want to play. I could be that guy, but I don't want to be that guy. So it's just I think sometimes I've been at programs where sports and the coaches, they understood it. I've also been at programs where like basketball's like, don't take my kids, don't touch my kids. So here, mine play multiple sports. I don't mind. Every now and then you do come across the coaches that you got to explain the value of the weight room to. I think that's wherever you go though. And it's same thing. I do track as well. And then you have, I don't know, like so many people tell me about lifting weights, and it's like, did y'all play in college? That just so my biggest thing is, all right, what sport is it? Go to a college campus and tell me they don't lift year round. And if you could do that, I won't.
Golf programs lift, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's not a strength. It's that we talk about this too. Like, a lot of coaches coach the way they were coached, and if they're not knowledgeable on, or just really kind of don't care, or everybody just associates weight room and lifting weights with football specific because it's the biggest group and it's always kind of been that way and guys have always done that and whatnot. And then you see other teams that literally it's not a part of it at all, whether it be in season or off season. Right. And it's to me, it's mind blowing that in 2026, you still have coaches that can approach it in that manner, but they do. I mean,
shoot, I put a tweet up the other day about like if you're a coach and you don't let your kids lift, like, you know, you're a clown. And like I had so many people, like a lot of people for it, like, especially mostly football guys, but I had some people like, well, you shouldn't be max lifting every day. I was like, well, if you're max lifting every day, you're not in a weightlifting program. You're you're ego lifting at this point. So they don't do the due diligence to understand what we do. And it's
Well, I think that's part of it too, right? It's because they're not willing to do the research to put together you know what I mean? Because most schools don't have a full-time strength and conditioning coach, right? Like they don't have somebody that's doing it. So for them to now have to go and put together a program and figure out, or look, hey, now you have to like watch them in the weight room, right? And oh, well, I'm not getting paid for that, so I'm not doing it. You know what I mean? Like there's so many other angles
I'll take it one step further here. I tell any coach, I say, I don't care what sport they play. I don't care if they play football. If they want to show up at 6:45 in the morning, meet me in the gym, they come lift weights with us. I said they can do our workout program because, again, our workout program is not specifically structured for football. Now, I make us clean twice a week and we squat twice a week. That is more so for football, but those are explosive movements. But I tell them all, I don't care if it's basketball, baseball, water polo. They don't even have to play football. If they want to come in early in the morning and work out with us, they can come do it. I don't need the coach to be there. Like we have enough coaches in there. And it's an open invitation to the entire school. So it's like there's no excuse to why your kids can't work out unless they simply don't want to.
Right. Yep. No doubt about it. So I'm curious on with you know, it's amazing to me like with how some coaches still think about things and
it's wild. It really is.
Facts.
Yeah, it is. It is. Football coaches have been dealing with that from when I started coaching in the early 2000s. So dealing that forever with other sports and the way they battle with it. And it's funny because I seen like this guy, I can't remember who it was. I saw the thing, but guy was a really good basketball coach at the high school level, and he would go and his own kid, you know, when they get out of a basketball game, I think it was a girl, they would get out of a basketball game, they would go and lift because he would, after the game, because he was like, hey, this is the only time we're going to be able to lift these times when you have 2 games a week to go right after your game, because then you're going to have a practice and then you have another game, right? Yeah. So doing it right after your game, they would get in the lift. So it always strikes me, because if it's their own kid, if leader like their own blood, you better believe they're gonna be lifting with them.
Yes,
you know what I mean.
Yes, 100%. And it's kind of like I tell parents, like I feel sometimes athletes don't want to sacrifice anything to be great. Like I was told a long time ago, there's 3 things when you're an athlete. Like when you're in school, there's academics, there's athletics, and there's a social life. And I was told a long time ago, you only have 2 of them. And that's kind of what kind of molded me. I was like, all right, you know, I like to be a social butterfly, especially when I was in college and everything. But at the same time, like, I can only pick 2 out of 3. And if I don't have the academics, I can't play. And if I don't have the athletics, I'm not here. So you gotta be willing to sacrifice something. And like I tell kids all the time, like, you're a teenager, man. What you think is fun, like go Go be a Division I athlete and tell me how much fun you have in 4 years.
Hell yeah. I mean, and especially, you have a unique perspective when you're talking the highest level of academics as well as athletics. You know what I mean? Like, so it was twofold. So that balancing act and prioritizing of, hey man, like, we're not going to go like to the party because I got to study, right? And if I don't do this, especially, you know what I mean? Like where you were at, I mean, you're talking the highest academic standards, in the country for the most part. So to understand that, right? And look, we also understand it and we were a part of it. We did it. Everybody this age, that middle school, high school, like being cool is the only thing that matters, right? Like nobody wants to not sit at the cool table in the lunchroom. And yeah, we understand it's hard and you want to fit in and all of those other kind of things. But if your actions align with the goals that you want, like you're gonna have to make some sacrifices and you're gonna miss out on some of that, and there's gonna be a lot of people that are gonna bust you for it, right, and talk at you and whatever and say certain things, but who you are character wise and develop and mature, like that's gonna show us even more so that you're ready for that next level, or it's not just ability that goes into playing at the next level. You know what I mean? Like there's so many other intangibles that go into it, and the sacrifices, they're real. Like, because being a college athlete, man, like the love of that game or the love of like what that game can do for you, like there's a big difference. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Like there's a huge difference.
I tell mine all the time. The first 2 weeks of college at like 7 o'clock, I would have both hands on the sink, looking in the mirror, saying,
"Yes,
did you really sign up for this?
Did you really sign up for this? Is this what we're doing?" Everybody has that moment where you're just like, what am I doing? Right? Like I thought I was ready, but this sure as hell isn't. You know what I'm saying? And then look, you can look at your roommate and say the same shit. He's doing the same damn thing going, what are we doing? Like, you just have those conversations. You try to prepare them as much for that as possible. You know what I mean? Like I almost oversell it. You know what I'm saying? Because every program is different.
When you get
through that's the other part.
Well, that's ultimately what gets you really kind of you look back after, and it's kind of what ends up helping you get
in every facet of life.
Now I'll say this though, it probably would have been a little easier to look in that mirror if we had NIL in my day. I'll just say
that's true. That's true.
It'd have been a little easier.
And that's also like, Coach, it's great that you bring that up, because
although that might build it,
all the old heads want to bag on some of these guys. Yeah, like all the old heads want to bag on some of these kids that are like, transferring or jumping ship or getting paid, like, for going and doing whatever. Well, I try to put myself in their shoes. And as an 18-year-old kid, if I'm going to get a bag, I mean, hell, we thought, like we Dave and I have said this a bunch of, we thought $500 Pell Grants were like, we were money in the bank. We thought we were balling up, like we were rocking, right? Like, we got a new jumpsuit and we were happy as shit. Like, but these guys, you know what I mean? Like they've been raised a different way and they're inserted into a world. So I don't know what decision I would have made. Like, had I not, if those opportunities would have come with NIL or transferring here, like, oh, well, why doesn't he just battle it out and, stay there and do whatever? Some of this is life-changing money for some of these kids where they may never have this opportunity.
You live in your time, the time that you're in. You know what I mean? People live in the time that they're in. When the time that we were in, that's what we knew. You know what I mean? The time that they're in, this is what they know. So
there's no doubt.
It's hard. It's always hard to, it's just same reason when people bring up things in history to me. You know what I mean? Like, dude, I'd like to think that I make great decisions if I, now that I have the information that I have, you know what I'm saying? But like, if I lived in the 1700s, would I have made the same decisions with the information I had?
Exactly.
There's no doubt.
I mean, that's why there are some people, like, I would say, like, oh, was George Washington great? Was Abraham? Yeah, man, they were making decisions that were in most cases really wildly unpopular.
Yeah.
Probably wild, like, and even if there was a good amount of people that were popular with it, like agreed with it, like the pushback on the opposite side was super heavy, right? So you need to have certain levels. So everybody lives within their own time, and like everyone loves to revisit. And I bring that extreme example because like it's easy for us
Yes.
who lived in a different time to judge them, and you do have your thoughts about it because things worked a certain way for you, but the kids today don't know that. They don't know, like,
And my thing
it's
is,
just like they listen to different music than you do. And they like most of the songs that they listen to, I wouldn't listen to,
yeah,
right?
I tell them
But
that all
like,
the time.
yeah, like I listen to, like, if I talk about, like, with hip hop, I'm like, oh, Tupac or Biggie, like they don't even know half of them
No.
are, you know what I'm saying?
Yes, yes.
So like they're like, what? Like that's old school. I'm like, wait a minute, it is? That's old school now?
Yeah,
Like
yeah. I feel the same way, but I also
so
feel like,
it's
and even with
yeah,
the kids transferring, they have issues with that. Like, if there's regulations in place and they're breaking them, we could be mad at them. But like, how can you be mad at a kid that's doing something that they're allowed to do when at the same time as adults we job hop every year if it puts us in the best
correct.
position? Like, if sometimes talk about kids chasing bags, as adults we take jobs because we get paid more. Like like it's almost like a catch-22. They can do it, but we can't. Like, they can't do it, but we can do it. It's like,
Right.
if you want to regulate what they do, like, how can you? And same thing when coaches get mad at kids transferring. Like, don't get me wrong, every high school loses kids or gains kids. It is what it is. But as high school coaches, we transfer too. We leave a school. We leave yearly. If we, like, some people leave on a yearly basis, some leave every other year.
Mm-hmm.
It is what it is. But coaches leave, and it's like nothing negative could be said about them. And the kids do the same thing. And sometimes I hate to say it, like, kids transfer because, sometimes they'll go to a school that has better exposure, and it is what I hate to say. There's the old cliche, like the old head coach is gonna be like, talent, they'll find talent anywhere. Yeah, they will, but it's a little easier sometimes to get found at certain places than it is at other places as well.
And in today's world too, right? Like, yeah, there's more of an opportunity.
Well,
yes,
they're also
that I think is one of the big things.
There was no mobility,
like
right?
who you surround yourself with.
I always say, like, like when I was coming up through high school, like I lived in a small town. The team I played for in high school wasn't very good. I went and got a Division I scholarship to UConn, but like, and people were like, well, if you went to so and so. I really didn't even know. I remember when my father told me when he was like 80 years old, he told me, oh, by the way, I had to tell you, but I didn't tell you at the time because I didn't really want you going, I didn't want you to go into a pro school, but the pro schools were recruiting you. He told me this when he was 80 years old, by the way. He said the pro schools recruited you and told me that you wouldn't have to pay anything because they didn't have any money. I was like, nobody even presented it to me. Like these weren't even these weren't options.
But it's like you said earlier, though,
people played for their town for the most part. Like that's just how it was, right?
With social media now, though, too, there's more visibility on things. Like, our eyes have been open to a lot of things, whereas back in the day, like, Dustin, you only knew, your area of Florida, right? For the most part. Like, Dave, we only knew northern New Jersey or the state of New Jersey. Now, like, the national presence or just knowing of that stuff, being more aware with social media and with how things are, like, guys now, like, they see more things and they now have, like, their eyes open to it. Whereas back in the day, that wasn't it. You just kind of knew your little pocket, and that was kind of it. You were really good for your little high school or youth team or whatever, and that was kind of it. Now these guys, like I said, you're traveling all over the place, right? Like, you get your little cut up. That's it. I mean, but look, even like when we were like, Rivals was just becoming a thing when I was, you know what I mean? Like when I was coming up through it. And but now it's everybody is ranked. Everybody is this, everybody, this star, that star. Even schools themselves, like with the way that college football is structured with conferences. I mean, you're talking the Big Ten that used to be a geographical type of conference. You're going to play Oregon or USC, right? Like, I mean, guys recruit on different levels now. And yes, they'll find you, but you're talking about we're splitting hairs. And if you can give your kid a little bit, just a little bit more exposure by like sending him somewhere else or him going somewhere else. And like Dave said, it's the attraction to be around those like-minded kids, right? Because public school, high school team, man, like you might have one kid that's going to play at the next level. And you know what? The rest of them could really kind of care less about that. They just want to be a part of it, or they've always done it. You go to like, you know, some of the private schools or some of these other like high-end schools that are like where guys have, you know, gone other places. Every kid wants to be that. Every kid wants to get better. And you don't have to tell guys to get to the weight room because they're going to like, you have to almost tell them not to show up sometimes because they're so over the bar, right? Like, so I think that too, being surrounded by it is big.
The key is to know where your kid is at when he's getting ready to go and the relationships you've built, right? So where he's at that stage when he's getting ready to go to high school, like, you know, maybe this place is a great fit for him. You know, the coaches, we know them, we have a relationship.
They do it the right way. They have a good track record.
And then, you have to know that. I mean, I think that's important. That part has changed, but I think it's important for you to do the things that are necessary to be successful. So wherever it is you go and play, like whatever it is you decide to choose, it's for most kids that want to just be a great high school football player. You know what I mean?
Okay,
like probably the place you're at is probably the best situation. Because people know you. And then if you're above that, then, you know, hey, go talk to the coach, man. Like, go up and visit you, like have a conversation, because parents don't realize that coaches don't want parents in their office every day. But when the kid's coming up, like you do want to know the kid, and you do want to know who's coming up and what you might be dealing with, right? It's surprises aren't a great thing, you know. So you do want to have some understanding of who it is, and you know, I always say like now you guys probably do it a lot more, you know, interacting relationship wise with as many of the groups that you have. But I would say like in New Jersey, at least, I think it's like a lost art form with high school, like public school coaches. I'm like, man, you should go down to your middle school and have a meeting with those kids. Like,
well, that's
so
good. That's a nice transition, Dave, because I was going to ask that. I was going to ask Coach. When you like, you know, when you got to Georgia, right? Especially a guy out of state, right? Like, who is this guy coming in that's now going to be our coach, right? How did you kind of like, you know, did you go, right? I'm sure you did, but did you go and form those relationships with the youth programs? How does it work in Georgia? Is the middle school, is it a middle school program that now becomes the high school program, right? So, how did you build those bonds and whatnot, especially being an out-of-state guy? Because that's how you build it, right? Like I watched Coach Schumann, when we took over a program, go to every middle school within district, whether it was public, private, charter school, whether there had been a kid that played at the high school or had never, a kid that had never played. I watched him go and meet with every single student population in that middle school to kind of just tell us that we're here and this is what it's all about, right? So how did you kind of handle that, Coach?
Probably the first week I met with the middle school coach, and it's funny, like where we're at, I have a son that goes to the middle school, and they just walk right over to the high school. That's how close we are. So you know, we met, kind of like let them know, hey, this is how we're gonna our offensive, defensive philosophies. I told them, you know, we could meet more, we could learn stuff, like, because my goal, kind of like you said, what we're teaching in middle school, I wanted to be accompanied like something like a small learning curve of what we're doing in high school. I don't want to have to come up to high school and learn a whole new terminology.
Yeah, close that gap.
Yeah, 100%. So we did that. Also, I encourage them, like when we have practice, they get out a little bit later than us. Like, so normally when we have practice, they'll get like half of our field. I let them use like 20 yards on our field. But I also like say, hey, before you start, just take 20 minutes and watch what we're doing. Like, I don't mind if the kids come, they're behind us and they're just hearing our offensive terminology, how we're teaching. Same thing on defense, our defensive terminology, how we're calling formations, calling plays out, just to kind of get that rapport with them. Also, our 8th graders that are going to become 9th graders, I have them lifting with us now. They're allowed to lift with us. So that's kind of bridging that gap. And I also meet with the middle school parents twice a year, the beginning of the year, and then closer to spring football, just trying to let them know, hey, because a lot of times it's a little bit of a culture shock coming from middle school to high school, it's just football. And I just tell them, like, the biggest thing I think is, like, some of the best middle school football players is like 140-pound running back. Great for middle school. I said, but I got my defense is nothing but 200-pound linebackers. Like, I have to tell it's just having them understand expectations. Like I had to tell, I had a mom one time, her son was everything in middle school. I was like, he's 140 pounds. Do you think for 10 games he could run the ball 15 plus times against the kids that like these? And I just showed them, like, our kids, like, it's just the maturation standpoint of the body that they don't understand. Like, a lot of times in middle school, some do, but a lot of times in middle school, they don't lift weights, which is, it is what it is to me. Like, I think, obviously, I believe I started lifting mine in 7th grade. Like, everything before 7th grade is just calisthenics, push-ups, sit-ups, stuff like that. We don't really touch weights till 7th grade. I don't know why. That's my mindset, kind of how I was raised. It is what it is. But same thing with them. So, like, 7th, 8th grade, now let's start lifting weights. Let's start getting acclimated, understanding lifts and everything. And so they see me all the time. I always go to their games. They see me at their school. Like I said, I just walk right across.
Visible.
Yeah, so just being out and about.
And you're sure as hell not easy to miss, Coach. You know what I'm saying? So shit. I mean, Dave, like, he goes stand out no matter where he goes walking around, I mean, we discuss it a bunch, right? When it comes to youth and middle school and all that stuff, right? Like, every one of us knew a guy that we played in middle school that was unbelievable. And then when we got to high school, you're like, where is this guy? Right? Because he either just hit puberty sooner, or the maturation process, it wasn't for him, it wasn't for that, right? So you have tons of those guys within the system itself, and it's really hard for parents and the kid, right, to kind of understand that, it's like you're questioning, is he good, or is it just because he hit puberty sooner, right? And he's bigger, faster, stronger. Whereas some of those kids get pissed now in high school when the kid that you used to throw around and beat up at practice is now all of a sudden kicking your ass in one-on-ones, and he's starting over you. Like, well, like, hey man, like, this is part of it. Like, figure it out and kind of go, right? It'd be nice to have all of you be really, really good at a young age and do whatever, but
that's life.
That's it. That's just not how it works.
No, there's no doubt about it. I think that getting them working out with you early is great, man.
That's a great thing.
Early is great. I think those are big things. They get a jump start on learning your system. That's a big deal. That also helps you retain them.
Do you lose a lot of guys, Coach? I don't mean to cut you off, Coach Shu, but Coach, do you have? Is there I guess I want to, like, because here in Jersey, like, there is a pull for guys to go to private schools based off of some of the schools that we have. It's a little more so up north because that's where kind of the bigs are. But when it comes to Georgia itself, like, public school, private school, like, I know in Florida, like, like, it's just based off of, like, the guys that I know down there, like, they're at private schools, but there are public schools that are just as, you know what I mean, that can just, dial it up as well.
I'll say the
that in Georgia?
The main difference when I was in Florida, Florida's the wild, wild west. Like,
it's
your
crazy.
address. It doesn't matter where you live. None of that matters. Like, if you want to transfer, you could transfer. It is what it is. Like, and I'll be honest, like,
and play the next week. Like,
and we benefited from transfers where I was at in Florida, but also, like, we didn't get them right away. You build sustained success, and they come. Like, I'm a firm believer, if your program is a perennial winner, and there's not too much negativity about it, kids are going to find a way to get there. Now, I say in Georgia, they have a little stricter rules on transferring, so it's harder to move schools here in Georgia, which I do like that. But there's still bona fide moves and stuff that happens. I've been here going on year 3. I've lost 3 kids to transfers, 2 starters I lost to transfers, and it's just bigger schools just coming out, like, I'm not gonna say poaching them. It's just bigger schools just reaching out to them and showing them some bigger school stuff. And I lost 2 kids to those, but I've also gained probably about 4 or 5 transfers in my 3 years here as well. So whatever I've lost,
right?
Gained. So,
see, and Coach, and that's what it is.
Well, success you're going to get, guys. I mean, you have success. Guys are going to come.
And that mindset too, Dave. Right? Like, that mindset, that approach to it is like, hey man, if you want to go, all good. You know what I mean? Like, you're not, like, sitting there pounding the pavement, or you're not calling the Georgia State Coaches Association, or, like, you know what I mean? Like, because I think we deal with that a lot, like where we are now, right? I think they're kind of behind in that world. They still kind of feel like, oh, well, that's nonsense. That's bullshit. Like, like you can't be taking our kids, or you can't be like, to me, it is what it is. If you don't want guys to take your kid, like, just get better, right? Like, yes. So that they don't want to leave, or they're not looking for something else. And I understand that there are some benefits or whatever, but I think the schooling system has a lot to do with it too. And David and I have been talking about this a lot, like lately, with, the academic side, or just the approach that the school has. I mean, look, you went to Dartmouth, right? Your GPA coming from a certain high school, irregardless of what it is, right, at that level, like, they're going to take somebody who comes and has that GPA that's more of a, like, coming from more of an academic school, the classes you're taking, the actual rigor of what that kind of curriculum is within that high school itself. So sometimes parents don't realize that stuff, like, factors in or matters, like, when guys are looking at it on a bigger picture. So yeah, some parents may want to send their kid because he's going to get a better education. There is a few people like that still kind of look to college as like the academics matter,
But and I'll just say, like, resources have to match the expectations, because majority of the time when you lose a kid or a kid transfers out, they're transferring to a school that might have more resources in place. So it's like, you want to, as a school and administration, you might want to be a perennial powerhouse, this and this. Well, are the resources in place to make us a perennial powerhouse? Because we're losing kids to perennial powers because they have X, Y, and Z resources that we don't have. So it's like the resources also have to match the expectations of the administration as well.
It's a great point. We lost kids at our last program that Dave and I were at together because it was, COVID, and they were going back in person and we weren't.
Yeah.
Like it was something, you know what I mean? Like stuff like that you're constantly dealing with. And I think the eyes on with how, the transfer portal works in college, right? Like these high school kids look at that and they're like, oh, well, we can do that too. Or that's kind of like what it is. That's what it's supposed to be. Or that's kind of how it goes and whatnot. And I don't know if that's true for every state, but there's definitely some places like Florida. I mean, you're right. Because that shit is wild. Like guys that are playing one week and then the next week they're quarterbacking another team. Like it's just, you just go into it. It's craziness.
I coached against a kid in Florida. He was a quarterback for one high school. He played baseball for another high school. And I think he played basketball for a third high school in the same year. And he was getting homeschooled the whole time.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's wild.
And he's a Division I college quarterback right now. I'm not gonna say his name, but he's a Division I college quarterback.
That's wild. So
gotta love it. I mean, look, Mike Smith, Mike deals with it, Dave. He talks about it all the time.
I'm curious for you and your team. What do you think is, so you gotten to a certain point, right? Guys have had a lot of success. You're trying to take the kind of the next step. What do you think is some of the keys for you to be able to continue to take that next step and then continue to sustain as well from a program standpoint?
Honestly, expectations, like my thing is, good programs are led by coaches. Great programs are led by players. So I think the first 2 years, anytime a coach takes over, is more of the coaches instilling the program, instilling the standards, the structure. Now year 3, year 4, I want to see it more player-driven, player-led. Like it should be something where I'm always going to bark. That's just me. But it should be something where I don't have to bark as much. Like they're holding people up to the standards. And also, I think like there's no excuses. It's year 3. Most of my kids are going to be 2-3 year starters. I've
year
probably
3
the most
years.
Division I athletes ever in the school. I anticipate having this year. It's honestly just find a way to get it done. Like we're familiar with the offensive scheme. We're familiar with the defensive scheme. Like our identity's always been playing some physical football, always being defensive minded, but we're about 50-50 run pass. Just I think last year we lost 2 games by 1 score or less. So the little details matter. And that's the biggest thing this offseason is the little details, because that's what ended up costing us the games a few times this year. A 5-yard penalty in the second quarter cost us a game because the ramifications of what that play led to, it's just a snowfall effect. So we're really focusing on the little things this offseason, doing everything right, making sure like we're dotting all our I's, crossing all our T's. We're always going to be physical. We're always going to be smash mouth. That's not going to change. And I think kind of where I was at in Florida, like after a while, like it doesn't matter what you graduate what's behind them, understands the expectations, and they want to live up to the standard that's been established in the program. So I think to be successful this year, obviously got to stay healthy, and that's key for smaller schools. I think one of the main things for high school, like we don't go from like some schools go from 1A to 1B on the depth chart. We go from 1 to 4. Like, and they don't understand that. Like, if you get one injury, that could throw off your whole season. So staying healthy will be big for us this year. But like I said, our goal is they always say if you're a good football program.
How many on your roster, Coach? How many on your roster? 9 through 12?
We have about.
I was just curious.
About 80. So I got numbers, but I got.
And you have 80. All three. Do you have all three levels? Do you have all three levels? No freshman,
just JV and varsity. JV and varsity probably closer to 90. So closer to 90 on varsity. I dress about 50. I could dress all 90, but I make them earn it, so I just dress my top 50. And then also just staying healthy. Yeah, staying healthy. And our goal is, like, if you're a good team, you're practicing on Thanksgiving. So I hope to ruin some parents' travel plans this next season.
I always said that you could tell a good program when they put out that preseason poster with the dates of your games and all the schedule on it. If it says at the bottom, like, here in Jersey a certain week, it's like either if it says week 1 for NJSIAA playoffs, like, okay, you're in a good spot. If it says consolation game, you might want to revamp that poster.
Because senior night, if the last date's just senior night, that means that's all your expectations.
Yes. Yeah. And that's hard to gauge, but that's also that, you know what I mean? And I'm always curious. I always ask numbers and how guys break it up, right? Because to me, that sub varsity or that JV, like, they're so pivotal, because not only are they your up and comers, but they're like what are running scout, and there are what, like, if they're not there, or they're not bringing it, and they're not like bought into it, are they going to give a good effort enough to make those varsity guys better during the week? So if you don't have, to me, one of your key hires needs to be the JV coach or the guys that work with the JV. Like, that can't be like a bona fide punishment for those guys, because most of them look at it like that. Like, why do I have to go on Mondays and kind of do all this work with less, and we don't have practice? You can make every excuse for why your JV team isn't good, but it's not about wins and losses. It's about development. How do those guys get better, or finding the next guy, or maybe you find a diamond in the rough and now he can go and play specials on Friday night and kind of spell a guy or do something like that. So you got to build from there up. It's always interesting to me, because like the freshman aspect of it, right? Like, is there a reason that you don't have a freshman, or is it just because that's just kind of the nature of the beast, or kind of how
a lot of teams in our county don't have a freshman team? So majority of them have and then honestly, if we have real good freshmen, they're probably on JV, and every now and then they'll be on varsity. So to me, JV is essentially like our freshmen.
We call it a little like Froshmore almost. You know what I mean?
100%. And now what I do, like, we have a 6-quarter rule. So I have kids that could play. Like, if they're gonna give me, like you said, 4 quarters of special teams on Friday, I'll play the first half of the JV game. Or if it's a kid that might have a blowout on Friday, you'll play the whole JV game. Then you get a quarter or 2 on Friday. So that kind of helps as well. Like, allow some, and then that's a good way to build kids' confidence that I need.
No doubt.
The role players for varsity. You don't need to be a main guy, but hey, I need you to be a special team warrior. So let's build your confidence in the first and second quarter of a JV game. So now tomorrow you're ready to go. So kind of use that to our advantage, yes, sir.
Yeah, no doubt. I couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. Yeah, it's big, but a lot of guys, it's like, well, I'm playing JV. It's like, well, you're developing, buddy, or maybe you're, I know you can play receiver, but I need to see if you can cover somebody, or I need to see you in a different position, or we're thinking about maybe doing this, or, using you here or whatnot. And to me, it's just such a benefit. And I don't think a lot of guys really pay attention to that aspect of it, or they just maybe might not gauge how important that really is. Because look, high school football, sophomore year, if you're not a varsity guy, like, that year is brutal. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're literally a tackling dummy for the most part, right? And you're just kind of trying to figure out a way to survive. And it's, hey, we're playing JV, but it's, and look, every state is kind of structured different. But for us, we play our JV games on Monday after the varsity game, right? So the varsity game's on Friday night, we play the following Monday. And, like, a lot of those guys, if they didn't see time on Friday night, want to know, like, well, why am I not? And now I'm missing practice to go play this and do whatever. Like, the structure of it's a little different, but there's no doubt how important that development is for those guys. It's that catch-up year, right? Of, hey, man, you finally hit puberty, right? So you're putting on weight now, and now we're going to see how you really kind of go and develop, and you can get an understanding of the offense even more so because, as a sophomore, you ain't getting those reps. So you might still not know those plays. You know what I'm saying? So now let's go and see if you can execute it and learn them and kind of go.
I thought you made a great point about the development piece because it's like, again, a lot of them, I have a great running back. I have a senior running back that's a 4-star, has pretty much every offer in the nation. Now I have probably a legit 3 to 4 decent running backs, but I've used JV to show what other positions can you play? Because I had to tell one kid, I was like, all right, say we run the ball 35 times a game. I have a 4-star kid who has Ohio State, Oregon, Texas. Out of 35 carries, how many think he should get as a head coach? And if it's less than 20, they're gonna fire me. So go ahead and tell me what. So then we break it down it's like, are you really doing all this work for a possible 1 to 2 carries in the game, or do you want to really play? Again, he's going to graduate. Then it's going to be your time. But while you're waiting for your time, let's make an impact on the field. So, and that's what JV kind of shows. Like you said, what can they play? And it's funny because I remember JV my first year. I had a kid that played safety. I was like, you hit people, but I don't know about your hips. I convinced him finally to play DN, and now he'll be a senior for me. 6'3", 230, has 12 offers. Sometimes it's seeing people see him move and just like you said, plug and play and see what they work best.
Right.
Absolutely, no doubt about it. No doubt. My final question is your leadership style. What would you say is kind of your leadership style of with your team, and kind of how do you approach that part of it from your end?
Shoot, I hate to say it, I'm kind of a dictatorship. I ain't gonna lie.
Is that how you were coached?
I guess how I hold myself personally to a standard, that's how I expect everybody to be done. So it's there's never going to be anybody if we pull up huddle time, our film time, no one's ever going to beat me. Player, coaches, that's just I'm crazy like that. I wake up at 2 a.m. to watch some film just if I feel like someone's going to get an advantage on me. So I hold myself to a high standard, and at the same time I hold my kids to a high standard. So I like to say I'm a player coach, but I guess the older I get, I'm more so not so much more so of a player coach. I'm kind of a disciplinarian on them. Like I said, we focus on the little things. I love them to death. We're gonna have fun, but if we can't have fun while we work, we're just gonna work. So leadership wise, I always try to bark first, but I also have a senior group of leaders that I kind of go to them. Like if something's going wrong or if I want something adjusted and it's not something that I have to immediately address, I'll pull my core group in here. I'm like, look, I know this X, Y, and Z. I need it fixed. How are we going to fix it? And we come up with a plan. So like I said, my main thing for year 3 is I wanted to be more player-led, player-driven. So I'm putting a lot on the players this offseason to see how they can handle it. Because, again, me and my staff, we can always go behind and bark, yell, and be that person. But if we got to bark and yell every single day, eventually our message gets diluted. So I want the kids to take more of an ownership this year.
I think that's a great point. I think it's important, for them to eventually take ownership, like you talked about earlier. And it's important, obviously, that you have your established way of doing things, and that everybody follows within line that, so nothing deviates. It's great having you on.
I will say, when I hold myself to a high standard, my wife, right? I have a daughter, she's 4. And she was due to be born the day of our state championship game in Florida. This is the first one we won. And my wife's like, what are you going to do? I was like, I'll meet you in the hospital afterwards. And luckily she held out. But I was committed to coaching in the game and not being at the birth. I don't know if I still have a ring on my finger if that happened. But
which ring? You'd have to choose. Hey, which ring am I choosing? Right?
I would have a ring for sure.
That's a tough.
It's funny though. That whole week, she's like, "Are you serious?" I was like, "Well, hopefully, I just need you to hold it in for another day or two." But I don't think I'm missing this one. I'd have been to 2 in a row. The one the year before we lost on the last 2 seconds by 1 point. I said, "We're winning this year." I said, "I am not missing this damn game." I was like, "Hey, you better hold it. You better have that baby in the bleachers." But everything worked out there. It was pretty good.
Oh, I'm glad for your sake that did not happen. I'm glad for your sake, because this call might have been a call where you were living at a different location.
Yeah,
100% there.
Maybe temporarily, not permanently, but maybe temporarily.
I'll be back. I gotta get out the doghouse first.
Yeah,
that's it. Oh man, it's been great having you on, Coach. Twitter's probably the best way if any other coaches ever wanted to interact with you. Tell us where they can reach you and any coach anybody ever wanted to reach out to you.
Coach Atkins D on Twitter. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Facebook. Dustin Adkins. The easiest way is Twitter. It has my bio, has my number on there, email address as well. But yeah, I love to link with coaches. Just talk football. We're a small union across the nation, so anytime we can talk football, I'm all for it.
Sounds great, dude. Coach. Great having you on. Much continued success. You're building something great. And then, if you ever want to come on again, let us know. We'll have you on.
Yeah, no, definitely, man. It's been a blast. I appreciate you.
Thanks, Coach.
All right.
Appreciate your time.
Thank y'all, man. Y'all have a good one.
Have a great day.
You
Take
too.
care.
Great, good job.
Georgia, man.
Really good guy.
Georgia takes care of their coaches, man.
Oh yeah. Oh, there's no doubt about that. I mean, shoot.
You're talking, and we talked about it a little bit before you hopped on too. Like where he was at in Florida, athletic director, coaching this sport, that sport, right? Like literally wearing every hat you could possibly think of and getting paid like trash, right? And that's teaching and coaching. Now he makes this move to Georgia and he's like, man, like it's just not even close. Like money wise, teaching, just like overall schedule of like, and he's like, and I'm only the head coach. You know what I'm saying? So the way that certain states are valuing coaches, right? Like kind of the right way, it's unbelievable.
Oh, there's no doubt. I mean, George is doing a great job with that. Really changing the way that works. So there, and then Florida's trying to figure it out now. I saw. So
well, they passed some legislation, but I mean, that's so long. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
right, yeah, exactly. Because there's so and I think that the other thing I thought I saw was that they're now allowing booster clubs to pay parents directly or to pay coaches directly.
That was one of the things that I saw. That was kind of how they're getting. That's how they're getting around it, I guess.
So could you imagine, like, you're at, I don't know, you're St. Thomas Aquinas and you want to go get a different coach? Like, you just go pay him? Like with some of these private schools that have, whatever as an endowment or whoever, like, donates money. And that guy just says, hey, I want the high school team to have the best high school coach, like to have the best high school coach. So here you go. Like, write him a check.
Yeah, that's the part that I find wild. Interesting. I don't, it's like an NIL deal for coaches, kind of.
Yeah, well, it's wild.
Which maybe, yeah. I mean, so you could probably technically get paid whatever you want.
Yeah. Who sets that
whatever
market?
You could command. Whatever you could command.
Right. So literally, that's what I mean. Like, who sets that? Like, oh well, this guy's, he wins state titles.
Market.
There isn't.
Yeah. Just the market, man. Just the market.
I guess you could look at certain states and kind of the overall, but I mean, look, you're going to be able to compare California and Texas high school coaches compared to, a New Jersey state coach. Like, come on, bro. Like, you could put a teaching salary on top of it and it still won't be close for some of these places.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's probably how, I'm guessing,
that's how I would do. I would look at a state, right, and say, hey, this is kind of the same size. If you're a public, right, or whatever it is, like, hey, this is the same size type of school. This guy, his record is comparable to what mine has been here or what I've done at certain places, and this is what I want done.
Yeah, I think that's what's going to happen.
I don't know if it's that.
No doubt.
Good. I don't know if it's that
like a Don Bosco or Bergen Catholic, I would guess that a sponsor, booster probably helps a little bit out with whatever they're paying the head coach. So I'm sure it's going on.
Yeah, I'm sure. We just don't know. Shit. I mean,
I cool. Don't, right. I mean, if there's an arms race and there's no parameters, that's
Cold War.
That's probably what's going to happen. And by the way, I have to talk to you briefly after this because we have an issue. So,
great.
It's a fun one. It's a fun one. It's a joyous one.
Is it a tournament issue?
Yep.
Oh,
So
joy.
I'm almost got it solved already,
Oh.
but just wanted to see if you had any ideas, just in case what I think might solve it doesn't solve it. So
Okay.
All right. So great job today. I will see you. Are we back tomorrow? Who we got tomorrow?
Tomorrow we have Monty Sparkman, who's a strength and conditioning guy. So it'll be good to talk to him.
All right, cool. I look forward to it. We're getting back some football coaches, which is good.
Yep. He is at he's a simply faster guy, you know what I'm saying? Haltom High School.
Haltom High School. Okay. Cool.
So, sounds good.
Sounds good. We look forward to it. These guests are great, man. I'm just I think I'm curious. Let me just see before I jump off here. If it did, I think it did. Let's just see. It's still fantastic. It's still loading like the latest guys as they get up there. So that's great.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's still doing it. Let's see. We did Zach Goodman was a couple episodes ago. Yep, it's great.
Yeah, Goodman was Friday.
What's that? Yes,
the
only one that isn't shown on our website yet is the one that was yesterday. So it runs
but that's pretty good.
Yeah, the website, I have it running a it's called a cron job for any techies, but basically it runs a scrape each day, or maybe I can't remember if it's each day or every 2 days, but like it scrapes what's the latest one, boom, puts it right in there. So that's great. So cool. Anyone who misses and don't want to navigate YouTube, you can just go right there. So
right, awesome.
All right, cool. All right, till tomorrow.
Later.
See you then.